Hello everyone, today I'll continue telling you the story about the single mother Lythieuca. I hope you enjoy the video. After many days in the hospital, Hung's mother's health gradually stabilized. Every morning, Lythieuca arrived early, washed her face, changed her cold towel, and patiently fed her spoon by spoon. Although there had once been a heavy, painful distance between them, the gentle care and softness of Lythieuca slowly eased the woman's hardened heart. One noon, while Lythieuca was gently helping her sit up, Hung's mother suddenly froze. She looked at Lythieuca for a long time, a look filled with guilt, shame, and unsaid sorrow. Lythieuca, her voice trembled, I'm sorry. I haven't treated you well at all. I was wrong, terribly wrong. Lythieuca stiffened slightly. She kept one hand supporting the older woman's back, her eyes gentle but hesitant. The woman bowed her head, tears falling onto the bed sheet, her voice heavy. What I did, it's hard to forgive. I know that. But thank you for still taking care of me even though I hurt you. Lythieuca lifted her head slightly, sadness flickering in her eyes, a mature sadness, not blaming, but not forgetting either. Please don't say that, she answered softly, what matters now is that you recover. As for the past, I can't forget right away, but I hope you will change. Hung's mother sobbed, her whole body trembling. Can you give me a chance? To fix what I did, to be a better mother to Hung, and a better person to you? Lythieuca stayed silent for a few seconds, then smiled faintly. It wasn't the smile of full forgiveness, but the kind-heartedness of a girl who had suffered yet still chose not to hurt others. I can't promise I'll forget everything, she whispered, but if you truly change, that's all I ever hoped for. The woman broke down, her shoulders shaking as though she were shedding years of burdens. Outside the door, Hung stood still. He heard every word, and his heart tightened. He knew how much Lythieuca had endured, and he felt even more grateful that the woman he loved faced everything with gentleness. From that day on, his mother truly changed. No more harshness, no more cold stares. Every little thing Lythieuca did for her, even the smallest, was met with sincere gratitude, surprising both Hung and Lythieuca. Lythieuca didn't open her heart right away, but she felt lighter. At least her kindness wasn't wasted, and his mother's change was something she had quietly hoped for the future of all three. After being discharged, the change in Hung's mother became even more obvious. She no longer sat at home waiting for Hung to take her somewhere. Instead, every other day she would take a bus to Lythieuca's rental place, bringing fruit, some food, or simply stopping by to talk for a few minutes before heading home. The first time she saw this, Lythieuca felt a bit overwhelmed, unsure whether to be happy or nervous. But what surprised her even more was the look on Hung's face. He stood in the corner of the yard, frowning, watching his mother and his girlfriend talk, worry etched across his forehead. As soon as his mother left, Hung rushed over. She didn't say anything hurtful, right? His voice low, tense, ready to defend Lythieuca at any moment. Lythieuca chuckled softly. No. She just asked if I'd been eating well, and told me she'd learned a new soup recipe. But Hung still wasn't at ease. He watched his mother's silhouette disappear down the alley, his eyes still full of caution. I still worry. He sighed, she did so many hurtful things before. I'm scared she'll say something that makes you sad. Lythieuca placed her hand on his, her voice like a breeze. I know you're worried. But she really has changed. I can see it. Hung went quiet. His heart was a mix of emotions. Surprise at his mother's transformation. Relief that she wasn't harsh with Lythieuca anymore. But most of all, he still couldn't fully trust it. Because what Hoài endured was no small matter. That afternoon, when his mother brought a basket of oranges and chatted with Hoài for half an hour, Hùng watched from afar. He saw his mother smiling gently, speaking softly, nothing like the sharp-tongued woman she once was. Yet his heart tightened. He was scared. So scared. Scared it was temporary. Scared his mother might hurt Hoài again. Scared the woman he loved would cry because of careless words. When his mother finally left, Hùng stepped forward, held both of Hoài hands, and spoke in a serious but tender voice. "If anything makes you uncomfortable, you have to tell me right away. I won't let anyone hurt you anymore, not even my mother." Hoài looked at him, seeing the deep worry he had been carrying for so long. She squeezed his hands gently and smiled. "I know. But give her some time, just like how she's giving me time to believe in her change." Hùng was still anxious, but when he saw the calmness in Hoài eyes, his heart softened. Maybe, only Hoài could make him believe that people truly can change. One weekend afternoon, while Hoài was washing clothes in the yard, Hung's mother suddenly walked in. In her hand was a large gift bag wrapped in bright blue paper. Hùng followed behind her, his expression still cautious as always, but his steps slowed when he saw that his mother wasn't frowning, she was even smiling gently. Inside the house, little Tony was sitting on a small mat, stacking toy blocks. When he saw the adults enter, the boy looked up, his big black eyes widening. He whispered, "Hello, Grandma." Hung's mother froze for a moment, as if unfamiliar with being addressed that way. But then she quietly sat down next to him and opened the bag. "I bought some things for Tony. I'm not sure if you'll like them." Inside was a red remote control car, a box of crayons, and a few coloring books. Tony's eyes rounded, his little hands pausing mid-air. For me?" He pointed at himself. She nodded. "Yes, for you." Tony looked toward Hoài for confirmation. When she smiled and nodded, the boy let out a tiny squeal of delight, hugged the car box tightly to his chest, and his small hands trembled with excitement. "Thank you, Grandma." In that moment, Hoài froze. Her heart softened. She had never imagined that one day Hung's mother would willingly approach her son with such warmth. Behind them, Hùng watched the scene, his mouth slightly open in disbelief. He knew his mother had changed, but this level of change, it felt unreal. Hung's mother stayed with Tony, patiently helping him put batteries in the remote control. She even held his little hands gently to guide him on how to press the buttons. Every time Tony giggled as the car circled around her feet, the woman laughed too, a real laugh, warm and soft. When Tony ran outside to try the car, Hung's mother watched him and then quietly turned to Hoài. "That child, no, I mean Hoài." She took a deep breath, her voice softer. "I want to make up for things. For you, and for Tony. Children have no faults. Tony is such a good boy. I want to love him sincerely." Hoài throat tightened, her lips trembling lightly. "Thank you, Auntie." She shook her head. "No. I'm the one who should thank you. For not leaving Hung. For giving me a chance to change." At the edge of the yard, Hung watched the two women, one he loved and one who raised him, talk in a peace he had never known before. His heart felt light, as if months of burdens were finally lifted. For the first time, he believed this family truly had a chance to move forward together. That evening, when the sun lowered behind the roof, Tony was still happily driving his red toy car in circles on the tile floor. Hung's mother sat on the front step, watching him with a gentle smile unlike any she had ever shown. While Hoài was cleaning some plant pots, Tony suddenly called out. Grandma! Grandma, look! My car is going so fast. The whole yard fell silent for a heartbeat. Hung's mother stiffened. Her eyes widened, then turned unexpectedly red. She looked at Tony, as if unsure whether she'd heard correctly. What did you call me? Her voice trembled. Tony ran over, hugging the toy car to his chest, his round face lifted up. Grandma! I said it right. You bought me toys, you love me, so I call you Grandma. A simple sentence, but it landed on the softest part of her heart. She covered her mouth, trying to hold back her tears, but she couldn't. She bent down and wrapped Tony in her arms, holding him with shaking hands. Tony thought she was upset and whispered. Did I say it wrong, Grandma? No, you didn't. She shook her head quickly, her voice breaking. You said it right, perfectly right. I like it. I love you. Hoài watched from beside them, her heart melting. The scene seemed to heal so many bitter days of the past. Hung walked out from inside the house, and when he saw his mother holding Tony so tenderly, his chest tightened. He had never seen his mother this emotional, and never imagined she would one day hold Hoài son as if he were her own grandchild. Tony wrapped his arms around her neck. Grandma, don't cry. I love you. As soon as he said that, she hugged him tighter, her tears falling on his little shoulder. She whispered, her voice trembling but full of warmth. I love you too, love you so much. Tony. For the first time, her affection for him wasn't forced or polite. It was genuine, the love of a grandmother accepting her grandchild with her whole heart. Hoài looked at Hung, and he looked back at her. He squeezed her hand, his eyes warm and grateful. From that moment on, Tony was no longer just little Tony. He had truly become the family's grandson. That night, after Tony had fallen soundly asleep and Hoài was cleaning up the kitchen, Hung's mother called him out to the backyard. The night breeze blew softly, carrying the scent of lemongrass from the pots Hoài had planted. She sat down on the old wooden chair, staying silent for a long moment as if thinking deeply. Hung felt uneasy. His mother had never called him out for a serious conversation like this before. Sit down, she said quietly. Hung pulled out a chair and sat beside her, his heart beating a little faster as he sensed something unusual. She stared into the darkness in front of them, her voice slow but steady. Hung. I've thought it through. From now on, this house, I'm leaving it to you and Hoài. Hung jerked upright. Mom, what are you saying? Why all of a sudden? She looked at him, her eyes no longer sharp or cold, but strangely calm. I'm getting old. I've been through a lot. I want you to have a stable place to live. I want you and Hoài not to worry about anything anymore. Hung was still in shock. This house was the biggest asset his mother owned, the one she had clung to all her life, the one she guarded fiercely, the one she once used as a wall between herself and Hoài. She had always valued possessions, afraid of losing them. She had even rejected Hoài because of it. Yet now, hearing her say those words, he barely recognized the woman in front of him. She continued, her voice softer but deeply sincere. And little Tony. I truly love that child. When he called me Grandma, when he smiled, when he trusted me, it made me feel like I could still do something good in this life. She exhaled slowly, as though releasing a burden she had carried for years. So, I want to give part of my savings to Tony too. So that when he grows up, he'll have a proper future. Hung stood up abruptly, eyes wide. Mom, you want to leave something for Tony? Are you sure? He's not even your biological grandchild. She looked straight into his eyes. So what if he isn't? He's Hoia's son. And Hoia is the one I want to call my daughter-in-law. Tony is well-behaved, polite, and he's lacked love all his life. He needs a family. And I want to give him that. Hung went silent, emotion tightening in his throat. This was a woman who once was narrow-minded, selfish, and obsessed with material things. Now she was willingly giving the most precious thing she had to a child who wasn't related to her by blood. He could hardly believe his ears, but every word she spoke was clear and unwavering. "Mom," his voice cracked, "why have you changed so much?" The woman smiled faintly, her eyes slightly glossy. "Because I realized, you can't take money or houses with you. But if you use them to keep a family together, to protect good people, then it's truly worth something." Hung looked at her for a long moment, then turned toward the soft light shining from Tony's room. His heart warmed. For the first time in his life, he saw his mother mature, gentle, and wholeheartedly kind. That night, when he walked back inside, he held Hoia's hand tightly. He knew. The family he once thought could never be whole was finally becoming complete, beautifully. When Hung entered the small room, Hoia was folding Tony's clothes. The warm yellow light made her look even softer. He sat beside her, and the look on his face made her pause. "You have something to tell me, don't you?" she asked, placing Tony's shirt aside. Hung nodded and gently took her hand. "Mom called me out earlier. She told me something important." Hoia tilted her head, waiting. He took a deep breath and said slowly, "Mom wants to leave the house to us in the future. And she wants to set aside some of her savings for Tony." Hoia froze. Her eyes widened, her hand trembling inside his. You're serious?" she whispered. "I am." Hung nodded firmly. "Mom said she loves Tony. And she wants to make up for what he's missed." Hoia raised her hand to cover her mouth as tears spilled instantly down her cheeks. She broke down, not because of the money or the house, but because of something she never dared dream she or Tony could receive. Acceptance. Genuine affection. A real family. Hung pulled her into his arms, holding her as if to shield her from every past wound. Hoia buried her face in his chest, sobbing. I never thought she would truly love Tony. I just hoped she would accept us. I never dared think about the house or money." Hung stroked her back, his voice steady. "I was surprised too, but she really has changed." When she spoke, her eyes were red. "I could see she wanted to do this out of love for Tony, not out of pride or obligation." Hoia cried harder, her tears soaking through his shirt. "Tony, he's been lacking love for so long, now he has a grandma who loves him. I'm really, really grateful." Hung lifted her face gently, wiping her tears with his thumb. "Hoia, from now on, you don't just have me. You have my mom, my family, and so does Tony. That's what Mom wants. And it's what I want most." She looked at him, her eyes swollen yet shimmering with happiness. In that small room, with only the soft sound of the fan and the warmth of his arms, Hoia felt whole in a way she never had before. Outside, behind the slightly open door, Hung's mother stood silently. She heard Hoia's trembling voice, heard Hung comforting her, and her own eyes glistened. She whispered to herself, voice shaking but full of love. "Hoia, you deserve happiness. And Tony too. I will make it up to both of you, as if you were my own." That night, the whole house felt warmer, not because of material things, but because real love had finally taken root among people who once entered each other's lives through so much hardship. The next morning, Hung's mother called and invited all three of them over for lunch. Her voice sounded unusually cheerful, which surprised Hoài a little, but she still agreed. Hung just smiled. Everything felt like it was finally falling into place. When they arrived, both were taken aback. In the kitchen, Hung's mother was setting up the table neatly. There was sour fish soup, caramelized pork with eggs, and a plate of glazed shrimp, Tony's favorite. She had even placed a little chair next to the table just for him. "Come sit down, sweetheart," she called to Tony in an incredibly gentle tone. Tony scampered in, eyes sparkling. "Grandma, you cooked shrimp for me?" She laughed. "Yes, I remembered you said you liked it." Tony grinned so wide his eyes nearly disappeared, then rushed over to hug her leg so quickly she almost dropped her spoon. Watching the scene, Hoài felt her heart melt. She had never seen Hung's mother this happy. As they all sat down, Hung's mother didn't wait for anyone. She immediately placed a tender piece of fish into Hoài bowl. "Eat more, dear. You look thinner these days." Hoài flustered, quickly thanked her. Next to her, Hung stared wide-eyed. The idea of his mother voluntarily serving food to Hoài was something unimaginable in the past. And it didn't stop there. She turned to Tony. "Tony, open your mouth, Grandma's giving you shrimp." Tony happily opened wide. Everyone burst into laughter. She laughed along and gently peeled shrimp for him. "Eat slowly, okay? Children can choke easily, that's dangerous." Hung sat silently, watching his mother interact naturally with the woman he loved and with Tony. It felt like watching a scene from a family that had existed for years. He leaned toward Hoài, whispering, "See? Mom really loves you and Tony now." Hoài glanced at him, eyes glistening. "I know, but seeing it happen still makes me emotional." Hung's mother overheard and immediately chimed in. "Hoài, don't be shy. You're a daughter of this family now. And Tony is my grandson. Loving you two like my own is only natural." The words made Hoài throat tighten. Tony didn't fully understand, but he wrapped his arms around her arm anyway, smiling brightly. "I love Grandma." Hung's mother gently squeezed his small shoulder, her eyes warm, like someone who once lost many things and was now learning how to receive real love again. Throughout the meal, she kept serving Hoài, sometimes fish, sometimes vegetables, sometimes soup. And Tony didn't have to serve himself even once. She doted on him the entire time. Hung just watched, feeling like his heart might burst from happiness. There was a time he thought his mother would never accept Hoài, let alone love Tony. But now, he was witnessing the opposite, a complete family forming right before his eyes. The meal wasn't fancy, nothing extravagant. But for all three of them, it was the warmest, most heartfelt lunch they had ever shared.
Hello, xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình bận công việc nên là không có ngồi máy làm được. Hôm nay thì mình đang về dưới nhà mẹ, có việc bận nên là mình sẽ trong thời gian tới video của mình sẽ lên thưa hơn. Và hy vọng rằng mọi người vẫn yêu quý và ủng hộ cho kênh của mình trong thời gian tới. Mình dù công việc bận nhưng mà mình vẫn sẽ cố gắng là sẽ thỉnh thoảng lên video để cho mọi người cùng theo dõi. Hy vọng là mọi người sẽ ủng hộ thêm cho kênh mình để kênh có thể ổn định và phát triển hơn. Mọi ý kiến đóng góp mong rằng mọi người sẽ đóng góp cho kênh của mình, không những đóng góp và chia sẻ cảm xúc của các nhân vật trong video, cũng như là đóng góp cho kênh những ý kiến riêng tư để kênh của mình ngày càng có thể hoàn thiện và trở nên tốt đẹp hơn. Và mọi người ơi, kênh của mình thì sẽ thường phát sóng vào lúc 7 giờ tối và 7 giờ sáng. Mọi người hãy đăng ký kênh, bật chuông thông báo lên và đón xem những video tiếp theo của kênh mình. Đừng quên để lại một bình luận hoặc là một like cho video nhé. Tạm biệt.